Running on time as usual. Hey, it's Care. Good morning. It's Sunday morning. Today's usually magazine harvest day, chill morning, but I finally decided what I wanted to do with Dad's book, so since it's Dad's Day, I thought I'd get started on it. P.S. When asked what he wanted for Dad's Day, my dad said no gifts, no candy. He did want barbecue chicken on the grill. So that's what I'm doing today. Working in his book and give it to him on the 4th of July because he hasn't set any rules for that date. This is the perfect red and blue book. Blue, red, and blue. I'm going to make this an altered book. So I'm just tearing out pages. I've decided 5 per. I've already started. I keep the end papers intact. Some of the first few pages are usually intact. For some reason, I just keep those in. It seems to go better when I do that. And so here's my first one. Keep a page, tear 5 out. You can see these two are going to be glued together. And once I do that, then I'm going to print out some of the digital kits that I showed you the other day. What I did on my print queue on my computer was make a custom page size in my printer queue because every book is a little bit different shape and size. And so for this project, for this book, I needed it to be, I think it was 7.5 by 10.5 or so. And then when I print, I just use the regular size paper and I use borderless fill the whole page options. And that way it's exactly the right size. I do have to trim off this. I have to trim it. There's just no way around it unless I cut the paper to size and then do it. And that seems like more work. And we all know that I'm about easy. Whatever is easiest and fastest. Because My Porch Prints has already put this beautiful fold in. If I tear it, I kind of lose that effect. Usually when I do altered books, I tear the pages in half and then glue them centered on the page. This poor book. This is another experiment for story for another day, but usually I tear the 2 pieces in half. For this one, I want to keep that beautiful fold where it belongs. And so, like I said, I made a custom size paper in my printer, print it borderless, and choose the option fill entire page. And then I get everything, all of her edging, getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but that's the direction I'm going with this. I'm going to use pages from the kit and altered it between pages from the kit and my coffee dyed pages. I'm just going to pull from my coffee dyed stash randomly just so that each page is covered. Another thing that I wanted to share when I do my altered books is as I'm tearing them out, this is a page, tear out 5 that I can glue together. So keep, because this will be the front page of the next batch. Tear out 5, glue. This is the keep of the first page, so I'm gonna tear out 5. What I do is I stack them as I go. 2, 3, 4, 5. That way, I know, because I'll see something shiny or I'll have to get up and do something. I won't know how many I tore out because I don't keep that, I don't store that information. But stacking them like this, I know I just cut out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good to go. That way I don't have to count all of them because I wouldn't know how many. I wouldn't know anyway. But this way I keep track of how many I cut out. Not that you have to be that precise at all. I'm going to get my handy dandy super sharp. And I mean super sharp. And get these little bits out. I saw somebody on doing an altered book. And just stymied. Oh, I can't get these out. Oh, I can't get them. They're stuck. They're stuck. I don't know how to get them. Ever heard of tweezers? I mean, this is not, never even occurred to that person. Just whined about not being able to get these out of there. Pretty simple. You don't need super sharp ones. These just happen to be the ones I have. But I do try to get these bigger bits out. I don't try to get them all out because that gives the book stability and strength. I don't want to get them all out, but sometimes there'll be a big chunk of corner because I'm not tearing well. Or sometimes they don't tear well. I could be tearing fine and it's not coming. So keep, tore out 5, keep, because these are going to be glued together either as a side pocket, top pocket, or no pocket. Keep, tear out 5. I keep a lot of these. I love the italics for clusters. See, so now I have no idea how many. Was it 4? Is it 5? Am I done? Do I have to do more? But I just have one little pile to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. 5. I kind of like this part of it until the very end. It's kind of like weeding a garden. When you plant the flowers, you got to be careful. When you transplant them, you got to be careful. But at the end of the season or when you're doing weeding, you don't have to be careful at all. You just tear those weeds out. That's what this is like. But after a while, it gets boring. So I hope this part goes by fast. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tear them all out. And then we'll do the rest. I have all my pages torn out. About that many. And now that I'm at the back of the book, I'm going to do the same thing I did in the front. Instead of keep going and pulling out 5, I just got toward the end. And now I'm just going to leave these few end papers in as they are. I'm going to go print out my kit pages to the right size. And we'll be back. Fresh cup of coffee. Printer's printing its full head off. Got the Bostons up for the morning. On to the next step. So the next step is gluing my pages together. So when I make the pockets, I usually use my little, it's a 1/2 inch circle punch, which makes 1/2 inch circles. Not very big. Hi. But how big does a thumb hole need to be? So I turn it upside down so I can see what I'm doing. And I cut about, see that? About half. Just over half. You know, does the job. It's fine. I have tried connecting them just to get a different look, going a little bit deeper on either. Oh, that's not quite right. Now I don't remember how I did it. That's how I did it. Just real quick next to each other so that it's clear to the book owner that there's a pocket there. Nothing fancy, no great shakes, but it does help. It also helps open the pocket. I have these other punches and I just wondered what an upside down half leaf look like. Or maybe a whole leaf, just right there at the edge. Will that be a cool... No, but I got a really cool leaf thing out of it. The idea was to do it about halfway too. Just to kind of have a different pocket opening. I don't know that I like it. I don't know. What about this one? This one is like, sort of like a postage stamp. That's kind of cool. Especially, I don't know, for some reason it's very, it feels more, well, this feels like the patriotic bunting that people put on porches and decks and archways and stuff like that. So that's all right. That would be pretty cool for a different look. Just using what I have. I don't have, I think a 1.5 inch punch would be better for the thumb hole. I've seen people use 2-inch punches as well. To me, that seems pretty big. That's kind of cool. As a... Let's ink it up so we can see it. To delineate that there's going to be a pocket there. I like that. It's kind of cool. It's more masculine than the roundy round. But the roundy round's not bad either. At the top. Don't like how the leaf worked. Really hard to ink. I don't know, that I've got Ugly Betty going and she's all fall colors, and so if I needed a thumb hole in that project, I would probably do an upside down leaf. If, you know, I might probably do. Oh, why are you so fussy all the time? Why can't you just use the hole? Just the simple hole. Why you gotta complicate it? Because that is what I do. That is how my brain works. So what I might do, it's hard to tell now that I've got them all jacked up, but I might do like falling leaves at the top. Just in a, it's a very specific thing, not the patriotic book for today. So now I have at least one option to the, and sometimes, like I said, I just put the one hole and that does the job. You know, it's the perfect size for like a library card pocket. But for a full page pocket, I wanted something a little bit bigger, and so I did the 3, and I really like this. For some reason, this says Declaration of Independence to me. I don't know why. I don't know why. We're going to run with it. We're going to go with it. Lots of noises in the background. I have my little printer printing its fool head off, and Bitsy is destroying some kind of toy. She's chewing, doing what she's supposed to be doing. Again. Such a good girl. Alright, so we're going to keep that one, and we're going to keep that one, and we're going to keep this out because I will be inking stuff. I don't need the leaf, so the leaf can go back in its little cubby. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to start right in the middle. I'm keeping this book very simple. A, because I've run myself out of time. B, because I don't want it to be so pretty he's afraid to use it. C, I want to keep it easy to use. I'm thinking he could use it as a commonplace book to jot notes in, or to a commonplace / smash book. If he finds a quote or something that he likes, he can tear it out and glue it in. So altered book, glue book, smash book, commonplace book, daily journal. There's a lot of things that he could do with it. So I'm going to keep it simple. A lot of the pages are writable. You know, they're places where he can write. You could write on this as well if you wanted to, I suppose. So this one, I was experimenting. It took me several tries to get it the right size on my, when I made a custom size of the print in the print queue. This one obviously is too short for the regular pages, but there are, at least there were before I started cutting things out. Okay, it's gonna have to be short, and it has to be, so that's, well, I guess I can't worry about that until I get my pockets, my pages and pockets glued. Oh, it's been a while since I've done these, so I'm not sure exactly. I think I'm gonna use art glitter glue for my pockets for sure. So I want every page a pocket. Sure, why not? That would make my life way easier. And that would make his life easier. He would know every page is a pocket. So this one that's kind of wonky would fit perfectly here, because there's nowhere near as much text to cover up. So I'm gonna, may as well do it. If we're gonna do it, it fits perfectly. See the difference in size? I had to make it about a ½ inch bigger height wise. So I know this one will fit on all the pages, but this one needs a special page, so we might as well do it. If we're just gonna do it, we might as well do it. So how I do my corner, if I'm tucking it in like this, put glue down where it's gonna go. And I try to get this as centered as I can. When I do these, I move the book a lot. I close the book a lot, because to me, it's like it does a lot of the work for you. I'm going to take my bone folder and gently push that down into that spine fold. I'm going to close the book. I'm going to take this. It's quite a bit thinner than my bone folder. It's just a plastic palette knife, and ever so gently slide that in. Very gently, because now the paper is wet, because the art glitter glue is a wet white glue. So the paper is wet. It's going to be very fragile for a little bit. Now what, smarty pants? All right, so because it's a wet white glue, it's got a little bit more give time. I should have the little metal tip on this. I'll probably put that on here in just a second. I'm going to do the edges really well first of the paper I'm gluing down. Can do that a little bit too. And with my Scotch Create glue, because I want it to stick really well. I haven't used it today yet, so I'm warming it up. Friction will make it nice and smooth, and I'm just going to do an X and a little bit around. Inside, it doesn't have to be right to the edges, because that's what the art glitter glue is for. And then again, I'm going to let the book do the work. just going to close the book. Instead of me trying to do it, I'm going to do what it will naturally do. And it usually, then I can take this, because this is what I have out. I don't need 67 tools. I can take this. It's every bit as good as a credit card, but with a handle, and just kind of squeegee it gently down. You might get a little seepage from the art glitter glue because I don't have the tip on there. So one of the cool things about grunge is that if you dirty it up, if you get finger mucks on glue marks and all that stuff, it's just part of the design. It's fine. Perfectly, no bubbles, because here there's a tiny bit. I can feel a tiny bit of the bubbles because this is a wet white glue, so that it's got a lot of water in it. There's some moisture in here, not nearly as much, so there's no bubbles in the main part. And I like when I'm working with the glue stick, I take just my bare hands, and I think the warm friction helps move that glue around. Maybe that's all in my head, but what I believe is my reality, so I do it. Plus, I just like the sound of it and the feel of it. That was way too long for one page. It doesn't have to be that long at all. So I'm going to speed this one up just a little bit. Unless, if you'd like, I'll go nice and slow for the second one. And then when we really get to gluing pages, we can speed it up a bit. So I haven't used my metal tip in quite a while. I can see right through it, so I know it's nice and clear. If not, I have a nice big fat pin here that I can stick down in there. Actually, it's too fat, so it's not going to go in there at all. But I have my pin right here. Hello, right here on the handy dandy holder that you made such a big deal of. It's right there. I didn't need the needle. I got the pin. It was clear anyway, although it feels sticky, like there's stuff in there. So I'm gonna do that just one more time. Get as much junk out of there as I can, because I don't use my metal tip very often, because sometimes I get it on there and I can't get it off. You just twist it on. That's why I have this little gripper, that grippy shelf liner stuff, also used for opening jars. I keep that pinned right to my bottle so that when I want to get that off, I can. And I keep a shot glass. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. And I keep water in it, so that when I break, or when I'm done, or whatever, using this metal tip, I keep it way out of my way so I'm not bumping it. As soon as I'm done with this metal tip, I'm going to pop it off and just chuck it in that little shot glass, and that will soak out any of the glue. While it's still wet, a whole lot easier to clean if you hit it with water when that glue is still wet inside there. So again, I'm going to take my art glitter glue and I'm going to go just around the very edge. And one of the beauties of art glitter glue is that it doesn't seep. There is some water in it, or moisture. I'm going to assume it's water. Enough to let it move, but not enough for it to seep. If you use a cheaper glue, there's a lot more water in it. It's a lot runnier, and it'll run all over the place on you. But you don't need very much glue at all. I get it as close to the edge as I can. Run it down that center where it's not going to get a whole lot of wear and tear. I'm going to hold this up real quick so you can see it's not much glue at all. But because it's a good glue, you don't need much. And it's kind of bothered me the way that's stuck there. So now I know that that's the area that I want covered. And I'm going to, again, warm up my glue. Give it a good X. And let the book do the work. It's kind of like a Hail Mary every time, like, oh, I hope I got it right. And it almost, I've never really had it go wrong unless I've got way too much glue. I love this. This is, you know, it takes the place of a card. But I love this card. You know, I like to use it just because he's so cute. And it takes the place of this Dollar Tree, which is, I don't know. It's okay. I don't know. I had this. This is way better. I like how it feels in my hand. And again, it came in a set of maybe 4 or 5, so it's probably a $1 tool. I don't know if that. So I've gone all around the edges where the wet glue is, just to make sure that it's all out. I haven't used this in a while, and I think it's really going to be my favorite for a while. I love it. I got it out, it was in my watercolor kit when I got all my watercolor stuff out. And again, where that Scotch glue is, just giving it a nice, healthy, love up the paper rub. So that's that one particular page, and again, it's because it's so much smaller than all the others. It's perfect for that page. But the next step for me is going to be gluing my pockets together. Now, when I do books for myself or for most people, I put pockets just hither and yon, and I do some folded over pages and so there's some side pockets and angle pockets and all kinds of stuff. But when I did my mom's last year, I made sure to make it simple for her. So all the pockets were, I think, on the side. I'm not sure. Side or top. Dad, I think Dad, this one feels like side pockets is the best idea. I might do at the very back a couple of top pockets, just to have a couple top pockets. So let's do those first, because by the time I get there, I might just forget, because that's the kind of girl I am. Okay, so here are some pages that I tore out, so I know that these two get glued together. I'm going to want this one as a top pocket, and I really like how this square one looks, so I'm going to do that before I glue it. And this is kind of awkward, especially with these bigger stamp punches. Carrie at Mixed Media Arts has a trouble with tags and tabs, and I seem to have a problem with punches and stamps. They are not the same. I have to be a little cognizant of where these pages are going to go. And on these pockets, and the book kind of tells me where my page has to go in this particular set of pages. Has to go pretty high. I don't necessarily want my thumb holes to be below this. And I don't, oh, hello, I'm not even on camera. Let's try again, shall we? I'm so sorry. I get involved. This page tells me where I'm going to have to put my kit page. And so that tells me how far down I can make my pocket thumb hole. That's about as deep as I can go. So I'm just going to do a couple more about that same height. Now, here's something I didn't consider, is that this punch is so big, there's only so far I can go in this little book. In order to see it, I gotta do it sideways. So I know this is the inside of my pocket. I don't have to make that all snazzy, but this is the outside of my pocket. I'm gonna grab... Oh, hey, I just tore out 200 sheets of paper. I can use one of those as a... There, and then now when I put this down, and it's offset a little bit, and that's primarily because this is so big, there's only so far I can go before I'm out of room. And that's all right. It's fine. It's fine. There's so much dark, like a Payne's gray, burnt umbery, dark. I'm going to get out the walnut stain. I only have that in the mini. I really need to get, because I use the walnut stain a lot. Almost as much as I use the vintage photo. And I use them in conjunction with, and yes, I just cross-pollinated. This is my vintage photo dauber. I don't care about... It's brown. It's brown. They're browns. It's fine. Coffee comes in all different colors. Aging comes in all different colors. So I'm good with cross-pollinating. To me, a whole bunch of layers of vintage photo and walnut stain just add depth and dimension to what you're doing. I don't know if this is going to work out, or I just gave myself an excuse to get a walnut stain. I usually re-wet this with water once in a while. This time I used my instant coffee. We'll see how that goes. We'll see. Is it nice and dark now? Oh, yeah. That's better. Oh, that's better. Nice and juicy now. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, but I like that way better. So here's something else I have to consider. Do I want all the pages edged, grunged up? And because if I want to edge the pages, I really should do that before I glue all my pages on, which I'm not to that step yet. All I'm doing is gluing pockets together. Oh, so I don't need to make those decisions right now. But I am gluing this one together, and... Oh, I know. Just quit thinking about it. I'm going to do them en masse. All at once. They're all going to be a little different. That's fine. I'd rather have pages be different and edging be different than have to do one page at a time. I don't have that patience. I don't have that kind of time. So, if you've not seen it yet, Carrie at Carrie's Mixed Media Art, she just did a really fun project with unbelievable how hard it is to find scrap paper in this room full of paper. I just need... Where's my... Here's a piece. I don't want to jack up the covers. Do I have 2 pieces? Oh, look at me go. I do have 2 pieces. Wax paper. So I don't want to jack up the cover. But she did a super fun project, and I'm just going to do a teeny tiny bit right here. I'm taking my spray coffee, and I'm just going to spray in these just a tiny bit. This does a couple of things. It dirties up the pages in different ways, and it gets, I'll show you. It gets way down in here in this spine where sometimes I can't get with my dauber. Most times I can't get with my dauber. And Carrie did a whole, she got out the rubber gloves and some plastic sheeting like Dexter, and she went to town with some food coloring, and it was grand. But you see, just a quick spray, and now I have some beautiful aged, super easy edging on almost every page. It's not consistent. Aging isn't consistent. It doesn't have to be consistent. And if I want more on a certain page, well, then I can come in with my dirty dauber or some coffee. It doesn't have to be super messy. It can be, and that, you know, that's half the fun. I'm gonna flip it round. See, that's as far as I could get with my dauber. But if I take my coffee, instant coffee, super strong in some hot water with a little bit of rubbing alcohol to keep it from getting skanky, I can just spray it right into that spine. A few on the pages. These were stretchy book covers that Leanne got me. I believe she said she got them after back to school sales were over. They had the clearance on the back to school sale items, and I think this is the perfect place to use. I really like this one, but of the 3, I think there were 3 of the 3, this was the least favorite. And so what I'm going to use this one for is to protect this cover while I do other things. The cover's pretty much going to stay simple. I don't know that I'm going to do a lot of decorations to the cover. But while I'm doing this kind of thing, I don't have to be quite so afraid to... There. So when I flip through, I know it looks kind of like a cow pattern, so I don't like that. I'm going to give it a little bit more. Just braid it across. That's better. That's better. This is just a little, it's a Pampered Chef thing that came with an entertainment set. You put little spices and stuff in here while you cook. Since I don't entertain anymore, it was the perfect place to, again, I took some super hot water and instant coffee. so it's really, really strong. And it's kind of like a giant pan of watercolor now, because I'm going to reactivate it. I just, once I added the crystals in the super hot water and just kept stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring so that all those crystals were dissolved, and then just let it sit out. And when I want to use it, I reactivate it with my coffee, and it's just like watercolor. I'm going to take just a water brush, I mean. Put out a little bit of water, get those bristles nice and wet, because remember, if you start with a brush that's been previously wet, get most of the water out of it, it'll be easier to clean. I'm just going to get some of this rich, deep dark while these pages are still wet, and add some dark spots. I think anytime things have different colors, different dimensions, it's just more interest. This was so not part of the process. I was just going to keep it simple. Remember? Were you here when I said that? That's what I said. Just going to keep it simple. Use the bottom of my dish here for a little. I just want a tiny little bit of black, I think. I might need more. We'll see. Take that dark, dark coffee, which is darker than what's in my jar. But it's not quite dark enough. So I'm going to take some of this coffee. Are we on camera? Can you see what I'm doing? You can! Oh my God, she might be getting the hang of this. What I'm trying to do is get close to this darker bit. I'm going to add just a teeny tiny bit of blue. If I were doing this in watercolor, I'd be using burnt umber and ultramarine. But I don't want to dig out my watercolor, so this is what it's going to be. There. See, it's kind of a charcoaly. I like that. So let's see how that's going to go. Oh, that's exactly what I'm after. Make sure to turn your pages both ways so that you're getting different angles. It's seeping in different places. Much easier done in Photoshop. But it's going to be great. Now, it's important with any project, we get a little bit precious about the idea we have in our head, what we think we want it to look like. And that can often take the fun out of it. If you're just sort of open to discovering what it's going to be versus making it what you think it should be, oh, that's way more fun. So I sprayed some more water because by now my pages are dry. I'm going to need more black because I'm doing way more than I thought I was going to be doing. Get way down in there in that spine now that I have a tool that I can get down in there. Sometimes if I can see it, you can't. And if you can see it, I can't. All that much more, fun and challenging. Why not? Look how nice it's coming. Beautiful. Beautiful. I didn't do the top yet. So let's do the top. Okay, I'm going to spray it again. Just so that they're wet. And this darker paint has some place to go, making sure I get that spine nice and juicy. Try not to make a mess of everything. keep running out of black. Oh, now I have black. Oh, yeah. I have black. I'm going to glue my pockets in and my page is down. When that's drying, I'm going to put a giant, beautiful, heavy book on top of it. And that should smooth out some of this rippling that we're getting because everything is now so wet. But I'm loving how that's bleeding into. It's not an exact match, but it's pretty cool. So don't watch. I'm going to put this paint back in this bottle, even though it's tainted with coffee. There's really so little coffee, so little brown. It's not going to make a difference to this black at all. So I'm putting that in there. And I'm going to get out my favorite. This is one of my favorite things ever. And I have made it this bright, crazy colors so that I don't lose it. Because I've started, I think, 3 or 4 of these, and I don't know where they are. I can't ever keep track of them. This one sits right next to me, and it is brilliantly colored. So this is my version of Cat Hand's composition book of unwasted paint. So at the end of any painting project, I go in, instead of rinsing out my brushes and cleaning all this off down the sink, just deposit it in this book. If you haven't seen hers yet, please go watch it. It is so much fun. The things she ends up doing with it. You know, she just keeps building layer after layer after layer. And maybe later stamping on them, maybe later stenciling on it, certainly later doodling on it. And this is, you know, there's no rhyme or reason. You just put the paint down. It is such a, oh, I just love this part. And on another video, I'll show you my what else is in here. You know, if you can save it like I did with the black, if you can put it back in the bottle, then put it back in the bottle. If you like this idea and want to start it, make sure that you only paint one side of each page, because otherwise you'll have to choose this side or this side, and who needs that? So just paint one side if you're gonna do this. And I think everybody should do this. It's such a great idea. And this will work with anything. I've done it with watercolor, acrylics, coffee, stamping. You know, when you clean off your ink pad or clean off your stamps. And then I just lay it over behind me to dry. And then we can clean up. There's very little stuff to clean up here. Kind of buying some time just to let that dry a little bit. And then when I'm done with this, I just put it off to the side and it'll dry out and be ready for me the next time I want to paint with coffee. So I can put that back. Now, where'd my pocket go? So because I know this is going to be a top pocket, I only need to glue. And I don't know if gluing it while it's wet is a good idea. We'll see. We'll see. And I just glue the very bottom. Yeah, it takes no time at all for this tip to clog up. Just take your pin, put it in backwards from the big end. Way easier that way. Way easier. Put it back on, clean your pin off best you can, stick it back in your little holder. Always there, ready for you. So we're gonna do this top pocket. I always have to remind myself, top pocket, top pocket, top pocket, so I don't glue in the wrong spot. And I'm not terribly precise about this. I do know I don't want to glue my pages together, so separate them and put something in between. Top pocket, so that's all. I'm just going to glue a very tiny little bit on the edges so that it's a nice big pocket. And again, let the book do the work. The pages naturally go where the pages are going to go. I think I am going to let this dry a little bit before I glue the rest of the pages. Or the pockets. Be careful. I wasn't planning to do the wet edging like I did, and I glued this in. And my printed pages bleed when they get wet because I don't have a laser printer. Over here too, kind of bleeding. Again, yay for grunge, because it's all gonna work as if I planned it. It's a nice patina if you're talking about, you know, cool outdoorsy stuff. I'm probably not gonna do much. I might vintage photo that up a little bit so it's not so green, but that is another thing that you have to consider. You know, you kind of do have to have a little bit of a plan. I thought I did, and then I went left with the edging, but I really like how they're turning out. I think it's going to be really, really pretty, and it's going to add, you know, it's going to tie everything together really well. So in the meantime, though, you know, there's always something to be done.